As I tune into my bodily awareness, as I use the sensations of my body to bring myself into the present, I notice a tremendous aliveness, a great mixing, churning, swirling of energies. There's a lot going on inside there. And I think that's long been the case for me, that it's quite intense inside. And that hasn't been easy. Because I think we have this tendency, this desire to have the inside and the outside balance out. We want the world to recognize and receive who we feel we are, honor those things that we value, that we think are important. And often we don't know how to express ourselves well. In the translation into language and action, a lot gets lost. It takes a lot of practice to line up all these things that allow us to communicate well. One of the primary things is self-confidence, is a commitment to following through with an impulse to express ourselves and not shutting it down, not diminishing it, not suppressing it until it just comes out as a little sideways squeak, an awkward half-hearted attempt. I think in practicing and trying to express ourselves, like any artist will tell you, often in doing so there's a learning about oneself. There's a learning about imperfection. This is why I have this symbol on my wrist. It's the Enso. It's a Buddhist symbol of meditation on the imperfection of life, or rather the perfection of imperfection. And I think this is huge for me. One, because I have a lot of desire for things to be right, for them to meet a high standard. I have within me this great intensity of things being very important and very weighty. And so it's kind of black or white, where I either want to do something fully or not at all. And I think this is actually, it is a flaw. It is something that is about a lack of integration. Because in truth, the world is nuanced. It's not black and white. The attempt to reduce things to black and white is an oversimplification. It's part of the artifice. Turning the whole world into a checkerboard is an artifice that doesn't really fit natural law. Because nature is infinitely nuanced. The human mind has this, out of fear, this tendency to compartmentalize things and simplify things so that a pattern can be recognized, with an attempt of guarding against what one is afraid of. So apprehensiveness that causes one to project and attempt to calculate what might happen next. And sure, from a fearful perspective, that may make sense. But that is operating at a very low function. And that only appeases the part of us that is in the animal realm, the animal level of functioning, which has its emphasis in survival. Humans have a great capacity to extend beyond that basic survival function. We can attain great heights of consciousness. And Western civilization and some other civilizations as well. But Western civilization is currently the dominant one. And it's based in an attempt to go beyond this animalistic approach. However, it's at the cost of those roots within intuition and emotion. And I think we've seen how that doesn't work. It cannot be at the cost of it. It needs to be an organic growth and connected still to our roots. The human is an animal, but is also more than that. So I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater in trying to distance ourselves from our animal nature. To me, this is very relevant because a lot of the things that I am fascinated with are those things that have been pushed out of sight, out of mind, that for several hundred years at least, there's been an attempt to escape and sanitize. And this is what has caused us to be able to destroy the earth, to harm animals without reverence. I believe that previous peoples, of course, they depended on animals and they killed and ate animals, but they had reverence for them. They didn't do it in the way that we do now with factory farming and the destruction of rainforests to make hamburgers. This is this is a terrible thing that we're doing to ourselves, because we are nature. Nature is part of us and we're part of it. In our attempt to rationalize the world and to extend ourselves beyond the animal kingdom, we've cut ourselves off from our roots. And I believe this is the cause of much of the sexual dysfunction and the sexual trauma that really is so rampant now. And we have people unconsciously acting out this dysfunction. And there's sort of coping mechanisms that have sprung up, such as pornography, and that is very, it doesn't help. I'm not totally against pornography, because I think that we need to look at things and not just say that they're bad, but understand them. And that if each person, if somebody is using that, then that's where we need to meet them and then work from there. Not shaming and blaming people for their coping mechanisms. So I have a lot of ideas about how humanity should move forward with a number of things. But my task is really bridging great divides, while at the same time doing my own work, my own personal work. And I've come to realize that those two are hand in hand. And for example, me sharing elements of my own story, my own healing process, my own dysfunction is part of what I can do to help other people. And this is what many people do when they go through their healing process. They find it helpful to share that with other people, or their learning process, that they're learning out loud, and they're instead of being some great authority, some degreed professor, instead they're just a real person sharing their real story, which to me is much more accessible, more believable, and more appealing. So that's my hope. I did not even set out on this little month-long video journey to make it into a career, but in doing so, it has again reminded me of who I am and what I'm passionate about, and it is helping people. It is helping people through some of the darkest times of their life and some of the darkest subjects. And sexuality is definitely one of those. It's one of the most potent and troubling for many, many people. And it has been in my life. It has been a very difficult topic, but one that I'm intensely interested in. One that I've been intensely interested in since I was young. And so confused about, and that really put a damper on my whole life. It really caused a lot of frustration and a lot of self-doubt in my whole life. But I'm coming to this place of really, after a tremendous amount of introspection, of workshops and books and life experiences, to get to this place where I feel like I actually can be of service to other people and really help them. I think this is part of my life path, that this is something that I have a gift for, and a skill set and an intuition, without having done any mainstream academia training. I actually pride myself on that, because I think that whole system is very dysfunctional and even corrupt. And they're gatekeepers. And the system rewards those who are compliant to boards and bodies that micromanage people and say what they can and cannot teach, and so on. And I think this is very wrong, and we need to get away from this. We need to delegitimize these authoritarian, micromanaging societies and boards that say that you can only teach or help or heal if you've been indoctrinated by their ideology. This has been very clear when the world freaked out about something recently, and all of the governing bodies of different service providers demanded compliance, or else licenses being pulled. And to me, that was a perfect example of the Orwellian potential of such a system. So I am a radical. I am somebody that sees things very differently, and also is interested in challenging the systems that I believe are attempting to control and enslave human consciousness. Whether that be just haphazard or intentional, which I think it is by at least some people, it needs to be brought to light. It needs to be pointed out. This is a systemic problem. This is a massive systemic problem where natural human evolution is being stunted and co-opted and preyed upon. And I cannot accept that. I feel called to do something about it. And that means that I have to challenge all of the resistance within myself. I have to face all of the resistance, all of the fear about being wrong, being shamed, being illegitimate, being having some weakness, all these things. But I understand that is also part of my journey. My healing work is to face these things, to really be confident and really be strong. And not just strong for myself, but strong for other people, which is what I desire to be. I don't find a lot of motivation in just providing for myself, or just taking care of myself, or just building up myself for myself's sake. I am inspired by a larger humanitarian vision and goal. I don't want to be all by myself, even though I have been for much of my life. I want to be part of community. I want to be part of a tribe. I want to have love and affection with people that I feel safe with. And I think that's the thing, is I haven't felt safe in the past. And so I've isolated myself. So I understand that this is I strongly believe this is all meant to be, but it's, it's also meant to be that we take responsibility for these things and respond to them. While we're living a human life, this is about action, and this is about making things real, making things tangible, and not spiritual bypassing. We can receive tremendous inspiration and creativity and nourishment, all sorts of good things from spirit, from deep within us, as we should. That's where our roots are. That's where we're nourished from. But then acting in this world and bringing those things forth into the world. And that is our learning process. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But it can be tremendously satisfying. And I think we're meant to help each other. We're meant to co-create this world. And I believe that for the most part, people are good, but unfortunately ignorant. And some people want to change, and they just don't know how. And that's generally who I want to reach. And collectively, we need to decide that we will not allow other individuals to dominate and set rules and obligations for the rest of us that we do not consent to. We have far too much government, far too much bureaucracy. These are people of the worst kind who really need some therapy, because they're acting out their unconscious desires for control on the populace. And because our structures are appealing, because our structures give people that kind of power, then those places in government are appealing to those kind of people. So we need to change the way that our world works so that there are not such disparities where people can have such power over others. We need a distributed system where individuals have more autonomy in their lives. And we have islands of affinity where people that have different interests can be with people that have similar interests. So if you want to live around vegans, you can live around vegans. If you want to live around meat eaters, you can live around meat eaters. If you want to live around nudists or people that are covered head to toe, you can find that. And you can have some protection of your community without being dictated by somebody who lives 1,000 kilometers away. We need to have systems that allow this. This is, if we look to nature, this is what nature does. It has islands of affinity, of different zones of characteristics. And I believe that technology can help us do this. Technology can reduce the bureaucracy and give individuals more power and can have a distributed system of different currencies. And I think this is the use of AI and computer technology that we should be rooting for, not allow this small handful of elite to use it to have even more power over the average person. We really need to get clear about this really quite quickly and demand a better system. We need to have people describing that system and educating other people about it and getting their buy-in, essentially. And we need demonstration systems, and we need to try out different experiments, and we need to have small governments so that they don't interfere with that kind of thing. We need to have more autonomy. We need to have more freedom. Less big governments, definitely not world governments. No WHO, no WEF, no UN. No, because these organizations are not ruling by consent. They do not have the approval of the public. We don't even know what they're doing. There's no transparency. They do not deserve to receive money from our countries, from our taxpayers, from our individuals and citizens that work and work and work, are overtaxed to pay for these bloated bureaucrats telling us what to do, because they're not doing a good job of anything. There's too many paper shufflers. There's too many button clickers. There's too many useful idiots that are empowering those narcissists, those psychopaths at the top. And that's who they are. We should make no mistake about it. The average person has far more compassion than the heads of the CEOs, the heads of the CEOs of the companies, the big companies, and the large organizations. Many of those people are quite soulless. They likely have deep-seated trauma that cause them to act out in antisocial ways. And the system rewards them because the system itself is soulless. The corporation, which every country, every municipality is a corporation, and they are all soulless. This is a great mistake. It must be undone. The reason that we're having a difficult time moving forward is the reason humanity is having a difficult time moving forward is because of this system of crony capitalism. It's not capitalism in itself, but it's this corporate model of capitalism that allows these entities to have as much, if not more, rights than a human being, a man or a woman. More rights, more protections. It's just like a computer program or a robot that can shed parts of itself and still retain its core agenda of domination consumption and control and growth. The corporation is a cancer. We must rid our world of it. We must come up with a better system. A system that's designed on nature, that's based on nature's balances, checks, and interconnectivity. This needs to be a kind of grassroots system, a distributed system that seeks to have harmony, not domination. So many people are swept up in the psyop, the psyops that have been used by these top-down people to distract, to make people think things are improving. All of the woke politics is a psyop. It's a distraction. It's not restorative justice. It's not about equal rights. It's the very opposite. But most people want truth to served to them on a recognizable platter. They don't want to have to take the time to really think about things, to really educate themselves. And I understand why. Because I myself often just want to crawl into a little comfortable cocoon, just feel good, and not have to do the hard stuff. There's enough hard stuff just trying to survive. Never mind do that in my leisure time. But I think the thing is we don't need to do it all. That within us is some kind of calling. In us, some kind of voice that is part of the bigger puzzle. And that if we follow that lead that is coming from within us, we will do our part. And as we follow that lead, we'll grow in capacity. And in the beginning, it's so scary. In the beginning, there's so much doubt. And all along, there probably is. But we just get practiced. We just get maybe used to the discomfort of it. And we know that on the other side of that discomfort is satisfaction and pleasure. There is a good feeling from pushing through the resistance. But I think that what I've recognized is that if we do certain things, if we slow down, if we introspect, if we meditate, if we get enough sleep, if we exercise, if we do these things that help us return to nature, the nature within us, then we're guided to take those incremental steps that actually aren't that hard. There's just there's a little bit of resistance because it's just a little step. But that's what everything is built on, is these little incremental steps. And with each one, we gain momentum. that makes the next incremental step that much easier. And those increments actually get bigger because the momentum gets bigger. And before not very long, there's a lot of momentum, and we're quite excited about facing those challenges. For example, what I'm doing right now, I'm naturally moving into this new place with it where I don't feel so awkward in just shooting from the hip, in just speaking what's coming up, what's coming through. I'm observing that I have different places that I can speak from. There's different depths that I can speak from. And again, I think this is something very, very relevant, very important for me, is trusting my ability to do that. So I do have faith that we can change the world. I think it's always changing, but we want to make it change for the better. We are at a crisis point where things are breaking down and people are suffering. And probably not that suffering hasn't existed before, of course it has. But I think it's the unnecessary suffering that is more extreme than ever, I think. The unnecessary suffering. In other times when there just wasn't the technology, or there wasn't the awareness, it just didn't exist on the planet, then life is struggle and people are dying, and but now it's not. There is so much information about every problem. There's 10 solutions for every problem, and it's at our fingertips. Wherever you go on the planet, pretty much. There's every sort of remedy for, every personality type. There's so many books. We're just in the sea of abundance. But the problem is distribution. And also, what I believe is our unwillingness is this crisis point is really because we cannot proceed in the operational paradigm that we've been using for the 20th century. We need to reestablish our roots in in nature, and understand what that means. Nature beyond the manifestation of plants and trees and birds and bees and rocks and seas. But this nature of consciousness that is within us and within all things, and that connects us to all things. I love astrology for this. It gives this bridge that our minds can follow. It's a symbolic language that our minds can use to delve into this world that transcends labels. So it's a kind of launching point into a broader awareness. And we need to return to the mystical and the magical, the ceremonial, the shamanic, all these things, and we can blend them all together and we can make them new. We can utilize technology. We can utilize all of these things and bring them together in a synergistic way that brings humanity into a incredible age. An age of humanity that is beyond what most can even imagine. And, maybe it'll take 1,000 years. I don't know. I hope it doesn't take so long. It doesn't need to take so long. I think we could have it in 20 years if people woke up, to the fact that there is this incredible resource of guidance within them, and they stop looking outside and they take their power back. I think people should refuse to vote and say no confidence in the established order. I think that the government of the country that I'm in, Canada, is an utter joke. I don't know how anybody can believe in it. People challenge me on the idea that we're ruled by a king. They say, oh, it's just a figurehead. Most people just have no clue. They just parrot what they've heard. The system is so outdated. It's like dinosaurs are in charge. The reptilians. But you know what? That's what will happen if individuals give their power away. Parasites dominate. I think it's kind of interesting that there's this medication that is so troubling, apparently. It's been banned, and it's, some places are trying to bring it back, and there's fight all over this medication that is an anti-parasite medication. It's been around for a long time, well established as being effective for that. And people are saying it's somewhat of a panacea. Well, but that's because so many people have parasites, and parasites are causing cancers and all these other things that it's being shown. And some other people are talking about how parasites and demons are essentially the same thing. And I do not doubt it. I think that everything physical has a spiritual component to it. And because we're disconnected from this deeper intuitive part of ourselves, and we've lost faith, now even established religion, which was just a bastardization of connection with spirit, which was a co-opting for many thousands of years of connection with the divine, which has always existed within us. Finally, it is crumbling, being dismantled. And I think that is by intention, so that people are without any meaningful connection with the divine and with morality and a sense of direction. And so, but I think that the powers that be won't allow that to happen for very long. They just want it long enough that people fight and there's chaos and distraction from their implementation of essentially an AI God, a technological solution to people's lack of direction and lack of connection with a guiding principle. But however, this is a window of opportunity for us to reclaim our connection with the divine. And that's what we need to do during this window of opportunity. And so I think that it really is up to us who have not lost that to reinitiate the rest of the world, or as many people as we can, to awaken people to spirit, to nature, to that which would make any forgery, any fake version of the divine look ridiculous. The only reason people will be susceptible to an AI God or artificial intelligence giving people guidance and life purpose is if they are devoid of that themselves. So people really need to learn how to connect within and tap into that inner source of wisdom and guidance and love and everything that we need. We don't need anything outside of ourselves. This is an incremental thing, but the extreme examples are the sages and the yogis and the sadhus, all sorts of spiritual teachers that have demonstrated that actually you can even be without food and water. The body can do extraordinary things when you're deeply rooted in spirit, in that inner connection. And we don't need to be yogis or sadhus to benefit from that. We can find great benefit in simply spending 20 minutes a day meditating. And if you want more connection with the divine and more insight and more empowerment, then there's more things you can do. All sorts of things. But it just starts with an intention and some incremental practice. And then that guidance, that intuition will give you further instruction, as it did with me in making these videos. And that's why there's no one rule. It's about developing rapport with yourself, learning about yourself, loving yourself, trusting yourself, and going from there. Because I think once you have that connection, then you're golden. As long as you continue to follow its whispers and follow its guidance, then your connection with it will grow stronger, and its empowerment of you will grow stronger. And those exterior parasites will lose out. You'll stop feeding them. You'll stop giving them your power. And I really hope that this is what can happen in our world. We need this change right now. And that's what I want to be part of.